After the defeat of the Dark Lord Sauron in the War of the Last Alliance, the One Ring of Power was kept by Isildur, King of Gondor, who was killed in an orc attack the following year. Lost in the Anduin River for over 2,000 years, the ring eventually came into the possession of Bilbo Baggins, a hobbit of the Shire who had no notion whatsoever as to its origins. Forged to obey only Sauron, the One Ring wrought obsession in the lives of those who held it, and destroyed 3 others before it came to Bilbo, who was somehow able to largely resist its unnatural allure. Though he did grow attached to the ring after many years, and was tempted to take it with him when he departed to live with the elves, in the end he was able to voluntarily pass it on to his nephew Frodo Baggins, along with his house and other possessions. Yet in time, Sauron learned of the ring's location, forcing Gandalf to send Frodo on a journey east so he might attend a council in Rivendell. Joined by 3 hobbit companions, Frodo left the Shire and survived the difficult journey, though he suffered grievous wounds at the hands of the Witch King of Angmar, who sought the ring on Sauron's behalf. During the Council of Elrond, it was decided that someone must travel to Mordor and destroy the One Ring in the fires of Mount Doom. Bilbo was a worthy candidate, but he was too old, and so the task fell to Frodo, who like his uncle had proven able to resist corruption. To help and defend him, a company was formed, with 9 walkers selected to contrast the 9 riders of the Nazgul. The Fellowship of the Ring, as it became known, included the ring-bearer Frodo Baggins, the wizard Gandalf the Grey, the heir to the throne of Gondor, Aragorn, to represent men, Legolas, heir to the Woodland Realm, to represent elves, and Gimli, son of Gloin, to represent the dwarves of Durin's folk. Boromir was selected as a valiant warrior and representative of Gondor, while the rest of the positions were taken by Frodo's hobbit companions, Samwise Gamgee, Meriadoc Brandybuck, and Peregrine Took, who refused to be left behind. Sharing dangers and bonding over the course of their journey, the members of the Fellowship forged a strong connection to each other. Yet despite their best intentions, the journey was harrowing, and the Fellowship eventually broke apart after Gandalf was lost in Moria and Boromir fell to temptation, trying to take the ring for himself. The eldest son and heir of Denethor, the steward of Gondor, Boromir was a seasoned warrior and experienced commander who, along with his brother Faramir, had a dream about the One Ring, though they did not understand it at the time. Boromir then traveled to Rivendell, where he attended the Council of Elrond, and learned about Frodo and the ring, suggesting that it be given to Gondor, who were on the front lines of the war with Sauron and could use it as a weapon against the enemy. When it was decided that the ring was too dangerous to be wielded and must instead be destroyed, Boromir tried to set aside his misgivings and joined the Fellowship, but inside continued to believe the mission was a mistake. Though he was genuine in his desire to help the group and fought bravely to defend them throughout the journey, Boromir ultimately surrendered to a moment of weakness and tried to forcibly take the ring from Frodo. Fortunately, the Hobbit was able to evade him, leaving Boromir to recover his control and regret his actions. He then died defending Merry and Pippin from an unexpected Uruk-hai attack at Amon Hen, after which his brother Faramir became heir to the stewardship of Gondor and commander of their armies in the War of the Ring. Boromir's momentary betrayal and the ensuing battle with Uruk-hai resulted in their separation. Though the surviving members went on to suffer many hardships, witnessing death and destruction on a terrifying scale, each of them continued to play an important role in the ultimate defeat of the Dark Lord, including Gandalf the White, who was reborn after his death facing the Balrog of Moria. A Maya of Valinor, Gandalf was among 5 Istari who were selected to travel to Middle-earth and help the population defeat Sauron, and so when he died, Eru the Creator sent him back to complete his task. After Frodo and Sam destroyed the One Ring of Power, and Sauron was defeated, the Fellowship reunited in Minas Tirith, where Sam, Merry, Pippin, Legolas, and Gimli were in attendance to watch Frodo and Gandalf participate in the coronation of Aragorn as King Elessar of the reunited Kingdom of Gondor and Arnor. Having survived the horrors of the War of the Ring, Elessar was eager to be among friends, and so the Fellowship remained for a time in Minas Tirith. During their stay, the hobbits were named princes of the realm, and Frodo was given a white gem upon a silver chain by Queen Arwen, as well as her seat on an elven ship sailing west to the paradise of the Undying Lands, as she was staying behind to live a mortal life with her husband Elessar. When it was at last time to move on from Gondor, the Fellowship rode north, where they witnessed the coronation of Eomer as King of Rohan. While guests of the Horse Lords, Meriadoc Brandybuck was honored by the king and the princess Éowyn for his service to Theoden during the war, and was gifted a silver horn forged by the dwarves and recovered from the dragon Skada the Worm, who was defeated by an ancestor of their family. Though they soon departed the King's Hall, the Fellowship spent more time in Rohan, with Gimli and Legolas touring the Glittering Caves, before they all stopped at Isengard to check on Treebeard and the Ents. Then at last the Fellowship separated, with Elisar reminding Peregrine Took, who pledged his service to Denethor during the war, that he was still a knight of Gondor, and that one day the king would reclaim the northern half of his realm. Elisar then returned south, while Legolas and Gimli went to explore Fangorn Forest, before making their way north to their homes in the Greenwood and Erebor. Continuing on to the Shire, the hobbits rode alongside Gandalf, stopping near Lorien to bid farewell to Galadriel and Celeborn, before heading to Rivendell, where they spent 2 weeks with Frodo's uncle Bilbo Baggins. Before departing, old Bilbo gave each of the hobbits a gift, with Merry and Pippin given smoking pipes made by the elves, while Frodo received a stack of books translated from Elvish, and Sam was given a pouch containing gold recovered from the dragon Smaug the Terrible. The hobbits and Gandalf then traveled to Bree, where Sam was reunited with Bill the Pony, and Frodo told his story to the townsfolk, who asked him to write a book about his adventures. They then departed Bree together, but Gandalf soon left them so he might visit his old friend Tom Bombadil, who lived nearby. Unfortunately, as the hobbits neared the Shire, they started to hear rumors of trouble, and could no longer rely on Gandalf to help them, as his mission was over and he would no longer interfere in the affairs of Middle-earth. But the 4 hobbits were now experienced warriors who'd faced countless adversities during the War of the Ring, and were confident in their ability to deal with whatever awaited them. Quickly, they saw that this was not the Shire they remembered, encountering a closed gate on the road before being refused entrance into their own homeland. Forced to make threats in order to be allowed through, the hobbits soon learned of a boss named Sharky and his gang of ruffians who had taken charge of the region, creating harsh new rules which, among other things, restricted access to beer, food, and pipeweed. As the hobbits traveled to Bag End, they were confronted by some of these ruffians, who insulted Frodo and mocked their claim that a new king sat in the White City. After hearing his words, Pippin, who was a sworn knight of Gondor, was outraged and drew his sword, hastily backed up by Sam and Merry, who also took out their weapons, intimidating the ruffians into retreating. Merry and Sam then rallied together their people to form a militia and started to make war plans, while Pippin led a group to Tooklands, where they resisted the ruffians, bringing back 100 more warriors. The captains, Merry and Pippin, then led their forces to victory in the Battle of the Bywater, resulting in the death of nearly 70 ruffians and 19 hobbits. Frodo and his companions then went to Bag End, where they learned that Sharky was in fact Saruman, a mighty wizard of Valinor, who betrayed the Free Peoples and had fallen so low he sought petty revenge against the hobbits of the Shire. Yet even after causing so much harm, Frodo insisted that he be spared, wanting no more blood shed. But it was not to be, as Saruman's servant, Grima Wormtongue, then attacked and killed his master, before the hobbits slew him as well. Frodo then freed Sharky's prisoners, and served as deputy mayor for a time, working to help restore the Shire to its former glory. Living in Bag End, Frodo wrote about his adventures in the Red Book of Westmarch, before leaving Middle-earth to join Gandalf and Bilbo as they voyaged west to the Undying Lands. Bag End, the Red Book, and all his other belongings were left to Samwise Gamgee, who married Rosie Cotton and had 13 children, naming 4 of his boys after Frodo, Merry, Pippin, and Bilbo. Sam went on to serve 7 terms as mayor of Mickle Delving, and created a family dynasty of great importance to these lands, who eventually changed their name to Gardner to reflect their contribution to the restoration of the Shire. After the death of his wife Rosie in the year 61 of the Fourth Age, Sam, who had briefly become a ring-bearer during the war against Sauron, left the Shire and, according to family legend, journeyed to the Grey Havens, where he was allowed passage into the Undying Lands of the West so he might be reunited with his old friend Frodo. Meriadoc Brandybuck went on to marry Estella Bolger and became head of his family as Master of Buckland. Earning the nickname Merry the Magnificent, he authored a number of works, including Herblore of the Shire, The Reckoning of Years, and Old Words and Names in the Shire. Peregrine Took married Diamond of Longcleave, fathering a son they named Faramir, and held the important office of Thane, where he became Master of the Shire Moot and Captain of the Shire Muster and Hobbitry in Arms. In addition to becoming leaders in their community, when King Elisar began expanding his realm to reclaim the lands of Arnor, Samwise, Merry, and Pippin were named counselors of the North Kingdom. After raising families and living for decades in the Shire, Merry and Pippin eventually retired in the year 63 of the Fourth Age, leaving their positions of influence to travel south at the request of King Eomer of Rohan. After the passing of their old friend, the hobbits journeyed to Gondor, where they stayed with the king until their deaths. Yet Merry and Pippin were so valued and honored that when Elisar died in the year 120, their bodies were moved and laid to rest at his side. The ruler of Gondor and Arnor, who was once known as Aragorn, lived a long and storied life, marrying the elf maiden Arwen, daughter of Elrond, and together had a number of children, the first being Eldarion, heir to the throne. King Elisar ruled for 122 years, able to live far longer than most of his kind due to his ancestry, which included the blood of Numenor and a number of ancient heroes of both elven and human nobility. Among the many gifts and honors he bestowed, Faramir, steward of Gondor, was given the lordship of Emin Arnin and title Prince of Ithilien. The Oath of Eorl was also officially restored with King Eomer of Rohan, confirming their friendship and alliance. After forging a lasting peace with their neighbor, Elisar was determined to restore the glory of both Gondor and the lost kingdom of Arnor, while also dealing with the remnants of Sauron's armies, fighting and defeating those Easterlings and Haradrim factions who remained hostile to his realm. Throughout his reign he accomplished much, including the opening and exploration of Orthanc, Saruman's ancient tower, brimming with secrets and treasures. Bringing the area into his domain, Elisar gifted the land to the Ents, who founded the Treegarth of Orthanc, where they were allowed to govern their own affairs. The Druadan Forest was given to the Druidine, a mysterious but kind-hearted people who suffered much persecution throughout the years, and helped the Alliance during the War of the Ring. Ever grateful towards the hobbits of the Fellowship, the king was generous with the Shire when he traveled north to re-establish the Kingdom of Arnor, expanding their territory to include the Westmarch, allowing them self-governance, and restricting outside access to the region. When the king at last died in the year 120 of the Fourth Age, the throne passed on to his son Eldarion, while his wife Arwen did not wish to go on without her husband, and gave up her life the following year. In the north, after returning to Erebor, the elf friend Gimli organized an expedition and traveled once more to the Glittering Caves, where he became lord of a new settlement whose craftsmen gained renown throughout Gondor and Rohan, even constructing a new gate for Minas Tirith, forged of mithril and steel. The elf Legolas had similar notions to that of his friend the dwarf, and returned to his home of the Woodland Realm, only to leave once more with a party of followers, founding a new settlement in Ithilien, which became the fairest country in all the Westlands. After the death of their friend King Elisar, both Legolas and Gimli decided to leave Middle-earth and sail west to the undying lands of Aman, where they might be reunited with Gandalf, Frodo, and Sam. Though a mortal being who was not a ring-bearer would not normally be allowed passage west, some say Gimli was permitted because of his deep bond of friendship with Legolas, which was stronger than any that ever existed between dwarves and elves. However, others say that it was his affection for the Lady Galadriel which convinced her to speak on his behalf to the Valar. Love Middle-earth? Then why not check out the limited edition Lord of the Rings Loot Crates, offering exclusive, officially licensed apparel, collectibles, housewares, and more. The perfect gift for fans of the books and films, this trilogy of crates will only be available for the first few months of 2019, so be sure to check out lootcrate.com/CivilizationEx and enter the promo code CivilizationEx for 15% off your order.